Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I'm here with Joe. How you doing, Joe?
I'm all right, Perch. How are you?
Well, I mean, I'm doing great. There's a lot of comic stuff in the news, and that's always exciting to get people talking about comics. I know that you always enjoy that stuff too.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't help but notice that it seems like a lot of people are kind of excited about the Punisher right now. He's showing up in the news a lot. Have you noticed it?
Yeah, this is some pretty crazy viral marketing that must be going on. He's been trending. I don't know why. I don't think there's a Punisher comic out right now.
There's not. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm not sure exactly why he's trending, but there is no Punisher comic, and then that got me thinking. We got to go pitch a Punisher comic. I'm sure Marvel's itching for it.
Absolutely. It's time they pull the trigger on a brand new Punisher pitch.
Yes, it will blow up the shelves. They need to get that out in the market. They need to invade those comic shops.
No, they absolutely. People are gonna just get whipped into a frenzy trying to get their hands on a new Punisher #1.
Yeah, they will.
Mhm.
They will go full riot over it.
Absolutely. It's. I mean, it sells itself.
It does sell itself, and the Punisher is one of those characters that is pretty much beloved by everyone. I mean, and has a really strong merchandise line. So there's a lot of good licensing opportunities you can do.
Yes, no, that's true. I mean, people love that logo.
Yeah, I mean, I see it everywhere. Everywhere I go, it's always there. What would you do? You've seen a lot of pitches. You know what you're doing. How would you go about? What would be your pitch to Marvel right now for a Punisher comic?
I mean, there's a lot of ways to go with this. I think one way that would be good is to completely retcon and change everything we know about the Punisher.
Ah, it always works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever it is your obligation as a writer, when you take over a book or a character with a long history, to wipe everything out before and to set up a new status quo for the next writer to come on board and wipe clean.
Yeah, that's the Marvel way.
Yeah. So I was thinking, what's popular and tends to sell more than Punisher in the shops is Batman.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
So yeah. So what if we take the Punisher here and we kind of we give him like a sidekick, like a Skullboy.
Skullboy's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's you use the logo. He wears a mask, and he has a smaller gun than the Punisher.
Well, yes. I mean, of course. Yeah.
But also ridiculously high boots.
Yes.
Gotta love those like pearly white boots.
Yes.
He patrols around in. But the way that this changes everything we know about the Punisher is we find out he's like going around and he's going to adopt a lot of kids.
Yes, sure.
The Punisher has to make up a lot of ground to compete with Batman. Batman, for whatever reason, is the guardian of far too many kids.
Right.
So Punisher is going to need to adopt a lot of kids to get on that same level as Batman.
And everybody would want to. I mean, this makes sense. This is in a real world scenario. The Punisher could adopt kids pretty easily.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, he's got he certainly has a stable career.
Yeah, well, and he's white.
So, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that makes it easy. And then if we're going to keep, changing the background and subverting expectations here, we're going to do a reveal. Probably, I guess it's got to be, I don't know how many trades in. Probably like. Ideally, you want it to be pretty far in, but let's face it, maybe you get 5 issues. So we're going to have to reveal this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Before the next reboot. It turns out the Punisher has been murdering parents to adopt their children.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a twist.
It's a pretty big twist. It's because you also have to separate yourself from the competition.
Yes.
Like Batman has just allowed these kids to get murdered, even though he lives in a world where he's a vigilante crime fighter.
Right. He's not actually murdering the parents.
Yeah, he's not actively murdering the. He's
Yeah,
passive. Like this is going
passive.
to be a more extreme sort of '90s throwback. We have a very proactive man who's going out and murdering parents to get their children.
Yeah, this kind of feels like it could. I mean, you could do this. I love this pitch, by the way. I think you
Thank
could
you.
do it mainstream. You could do it in a YA format too.
Oh yeah, no, because the thing is, all you do for the YA version is you do a spin on it. I guess he murders the parents probably like off panel or something
Sure.
like that. It's a
Yeah.
lot of silhouettes, and then the important thing in the YA version that you really hammer home is it's family isn't like who you're related to. It's the family you make.
Right. And in this case, he's making them through bullets.
Yeah, he's making them through bullets. He is carving out his own family by literally carving the faces of
Mm.
so many parents until they're dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. I like it.
Thank you, thank you. But you got to have some ideas too. What are you thinking? What do you do to relaunch the Punisher?
Well, I think that the Punisher is as a character. What do people really like about the Punisher? It's his dialogue.
Yeah.
So, what if the Punisher was decided that the best way to fight crime and to kind of get revenge on people is actually not through bullets, which nobody really liked that part of it anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
that was kind of the stuff he just put up with. Instead, it was basically he would become a therapist. So
Ooh.
yeah, he'd be like the Punisher, but he would basically give therapy to criminals or would be criminals to encourage them to kill themselves. So he'd like be a bad psychologist.
Oh, I see. Now
Yeah.
this is more YA appropriate because there's no bullets. He's
True.
convincing people
Right.
to kill themselves. So I'm just saying, like, it doesn't have to be YA, but I'm saying, like that's where the market's going, according to people just repeating the same thing over and over again.
It's true.
So yeah,
Yeah, I
so
think every idea can be adopted for YA. It's definitely, and I think this one can. I mean, you get lots of good dialogue. You get rid of all that action that,
mhm,
and has always gotten in the way of the Punisher.
for
And
sure.
you just lean into this idea, and then maybe also do it like, hey, it's like he's going and he's a vet, so it's like everybody trusts a vet. I mean,
Mhm.
what we know about vets is that they're very very stable, and they're you would trust them with small children, and so he would basically use that part of his personality to become therapists with all these kind of troubled teens.
Yeah.
But he would instead convince them to off themselves, and that would be kind of his new status quo, his new way of doing things.
Nice. No, that's got a lot of potential. I think, obviously the violence and the action and the compelling parts of the Punisher are all a backdrop to a story about a man dealing with, depression and moving forward.
Yeah.
So this handles a lot of that, and we're cutting out all the fat, all the action, all the dynamic panels, and just focusing really on people sitting around talking.
Yes, exactly. Which is what the market wants.
Yeah.
And maybe even he can serve some food, so we can have like
Okay.
Punisher therapy and dinner. So that there's a lot of opportunities here for getting to what people really want, which is conversations.
That's true. I think one thing we could do to punch it up a little bit is now let's say, I mean, he's working with a lot of kids and providing therapy to them, but what you also want to do is pull in some like B, C listers that have like ridiculous costumes.
Yes.
So what if we have like Rhino laying on like a couch, spilling his guts to the Punisher, but he's in the full like Rhino suit.
Hilarious. I can picture it, and you
Yeah.
can even have like the couch is kind of sinking because he's so fat.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, this is funny.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this is when people pick up the Punisher, they want these kind of like visual gags. It's a visual medium. So you gotta work
Yes.
with that and have these sort of visual, kind of funny gags. Like you could do the same thing with like the lizard. Like it would be so weird and funny
Mhm.
because he's a lizard, and he's like sitting in a chair, laying on a couch, and it's like you're with people.
Yeah, it does. That's where people sit, not lizards.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have the stilt man, and his legs are kind of having to go out a window because he can't fit
Yes.
in this
Yeah.
room. And but the trick is you make it funny, and you have that visual gag, and you have that very lighthearted feel, which again is why people come to the Punisher in the first place.
Yeah.
But then as you get into the Punisher, basically Frank Castle very very carefully, meticulously unraveling their sense of self, and that's where the tears come.
Yeah, and then I couldn't help but think when you mentioned the stilt man, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so here's the scene. The stilt man's legs are all out the window. So then when he's done, instead of going out the door, he just leans out the window and goes that way.
Yes, exactly. And you get a really expensive artist to draw this because you need some top talent, because you're going to have a lot of word balloons that are going to fill up as much of the panel as possible. So the art that you do see needs to be really top notch.
No, absolutely. And then here's the comedy.
Yeah.
People are already laughing really hard at the idea of a man going out a window instead of a door, because that's not what you're supposed to do.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's very silly. So then the Punisher leans out the window, and he's like holding his cell phone, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna, request your payment through Cash App.
Yes, people use that now.
People use that, and it's funny because Stiltman hasn't paid, possibly because he's still a villain, and instead of alerting the authorities or dealing with him in any way, we're just going to act like it's cool that he's just hanging out and seeking therapy as a civilian, I guess.
Yeah.
No.
No, I like what's actually, as you're talking about this, I'm now thinking about your last idea as well. And there's no reason why you couldn't combine these to some extent, where the Punisher is actually getting these supervillains who have children we just never knew about. But you got to imagine, like, Stiltman's got kids. I mean,
yeah, for sure. Who wouldn't want that?
Everybody's. I mean, he's going to be all over the place. So he gets the parents to kill themselves, and then he gets all these children of supervillain wards. That then it also helps his plan. I think you could combine these things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's going to be important too, because there's going to be 5 issues tops before the next reboot. And who the hell knows who's going to write that. We might get to be invited back to do a series of like point ones or something like that. But who the hell knows?
Well, I mean, this kind of idea, I think, would tie really well into an event. So like when you have, Noel's cousin come to Earth, in the future for like Duke of Black, that is probably coming in the future, then this whole series ties really nicely into that, because then you get the visual gags of the person going out the window, but it's all dark outside because everything's fucked up.
Yeah, and actually, we could probably tie this into Outlawed, because that's never going to fucking end.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, exactly. By the time this were even to come out in like 2 years, Outlawed will still be going.
Yeah. I mean, that whole event has forever legs. Yeah. I don't know though. So you got some other ideas too, though, don't you? I mean, I think these would be great, but I actually think the attention and the momentum right now behind the Punisher. I mean, you could do multiple series at once, like they used to in the 90s.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you could do so many, and it's just different takes.
Yes.
One other thing you could do is again, let's completely subvert expectations and change everything we know about the Punisher and contradict the other Punisher series going on by having another little mini series where it's revealed by Professor X that the Punisher was never a vigilante. He only thought he was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, mind blown there. Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. And then you get, I mean, because X books will sell like crazy. So there's a way you tie that in with the whole reign of X.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure by the time they were to even consider this, it would be required to have an X somewhere in the title to even get over the plate anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and that's tricky. I mean, you could do Punisher Tin of Guns,
Yeah.
or yeah, that's a tricky one, but it's not impossible. Or you could just randomly replace a letter with an X. That works too.
Punexure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Punexure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So basically all this time, and then he's been living a lie.
He has been, as he's also been living a lie before this, and in probably a lot of his iterations that are stupid enough to try to explain the Punisher instead of just enjoying the fact that he's a vigilante that doesn't mind killing people.
Well, I mean, and this would be so great because it answers that problem that I know so many comic fans have, which is what war did he fight in exactly? Because he's not old enough to be in Vietnam anymore. So was he in Afghanistan, or like where was? But if it was all in his head, like all of this was in his head, then
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. He could have been working at Starbucks.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Here's what we do. The tie-in YA book is about Frank Castle working at Starbucks.
Yes, absolutely. And like he gets orders wrong, but then he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, but and he's so he's so violent and crazy about things, but he's just like shooting people with like like the syrup and
Yeah.
or like whipped cream or something like that. He's working with all these kids, and then all these like teenagers, 20-somethings working at the Starbucks, and then we create this sort of like group dynamic, and we really dive into the backgrounds of all these kids who are trying to kind of like influence the Punisher and make him a better person, because as like teenagers and 20-somethings, they know the world better than a man who's seen things that none of us should have seen.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it allows us to tell the tale of the Punisher seeing the world through new eyes, and coming to understand that he can learn some new lessons from these kids who are working at Starbucks and have got it all figured out.
Yeah, I mean, when they had the little kid teach Archie Bunker all that stuff, the ratings on All in the Family shot through the roof, and it went on for many years after that.
That was the only reason it stayed on. I mean, because it would
Yeah.
have died quickly. I mean, people do like that. I mean, if there's one thing that always endears projects is when you have like a kid telling an older person how they're wrong. Like people love
Yeah.
that stuff.
No, it's true. I mean, kids love it. Adults, I mean, how do they not love it?
Yeah. I'm with you. I think, and there is so much you could do with Punisher to kind of reveal himself. I really like this idea that he's not who he thought he was, and I
Yeah.
think playing on his emotions are cool. I mean, I was thinking, you've got the Avengers, and it's this super popular team, and it's like the pinnacle at the Marvel Universe. If you want to be anybody, you got to be in the Avengers.
Yeah.
And the Avengers just let in Blade, who murders vampires on a regular basis, and
Mhm.
I think he's maybe their lead at this point. I'm not quite sure, but
Yeah.
he's there. So the Punisher thinks it's my turn. It's my time to be in the Avengers. And he gets all this, like he polishes up his resume, and he like, he gets his costume nice and clean and shiny. Maybe he gets the best guns, and he goes for his Avengers interview. And then we spend like a couple issues about how uncomfortable this interview is. And it's like, the Punisher just thinks he's nailing it. Frank is just really, really confident, but you get all these like awkward expressions from She-Hulk and Captain Marvel. Like, what's this guy doing here? I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You just do that for a couple issues, and then finally, like the Avengers are like, well, who's going to break it to this guy that we don't want him on the team because he's weird. He's old and weird.
Yeah.
And so finally, like they draw straws, and like then they make the Robbie, the Ghost Rider, have to go out and tell him. Like,
Nice.
He's like, sorry, Mr. Castle, and he basically says no. And in that moment, the Punisher's world just kind of crashes down, and we examine rejection sensitive dysphoria, this this condition where you get emotional pain based on rejection, and it causes you to just completely collapse in on yourself, and the Punisher has to reconcile with this just brutal depression. Then we spend like as many issues as they'll give us just with the Punisher really sad.
Yeah, no, it's compelling, and it's a great way to tell a story about something that actually affects a small percentage of the population, and to do so in a way that doesn't actually help anyone or take it seriously.
Mm,
And
yeah.
yeah, no, I really like that. And and you're right. I mean, Punisher, I mean, he's got to be looking at that like, you guys let Sandman on the team, and he killed a bunch of people. Like, Wolverine was on the team, and he's like murdered entire countries worth of people at this point.
Yeah. But not me. Like, why not me? And that becomes the quest. Why am I not good enough? And then we go through maybe issues where he's like, should I kill more people? Or maybe I should try killing less people. And he's very mixed up, very confused. And then maybe like he gets a buddy to kind of help him out, because that's
Yeah.
right now in Iron Man, they put Hellcat in there and everybody's loving that duo. It's doing a lot for that guy.
Yeah.
So maybe you could do the same thing with the Punisher, but like his buddy is I don't know, like that West Coast Avenger nun, who had the power. Her. Yeah.
Her, or she'd be good. I'm trying to. What about Kate Bishop?
Like always, Kate. I mean, Kate. You put Kate Bishop in there, and I mean, first of all, I don't even think they'd let us have her because she's so popular. But that would equal 100,000 copies.
Well, here's the thing: you get her because she teaches. Like the thing is, Punisher's shattered from the rejection.
Yes,
and then Kate Bishop teaches the Punisher how to shoot again.
Ooh, yes, he can't shoot his gun. Yeah, he actually. Oh, this is brilliant. So he basically comes to the conclusion that he didn't kill enough people to be on the Avengers. So he goes out to try and rectify that. But that's where he discovers he's got a mental block now and he can't shoot his gun. And he's bad at it.
Yeah.
And so he's got to turn to Kate Bishop to teach him how to kill again.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and we could do a whole like funny montage where it's like, he's learning how to shoot, but he's not ready for a gun yet. So we do a lot of like goofy Silver Agey, like Green Arrow kind of stuff where he's like shooting arrows with like boxing gloves on them, and things like that because it's funny.
Everybody loves, like, especially if you can mix food in there somehow too. It's like, like maybe like it's an arrow, but instead of a boxing glove, there's like a cupcake or a pie.
Yeah, no, that's good. Definitely a pie shooter. I mean, that's a no brainer. We could have a cute scene in like a diner where they're like, flicking like whipped cream or ice cream at each other with like plastic spoons or something.
Well, and this could lead to kind of another, like they're spending all this time, and through the course of this training, Frank Castle falls in love with Kate Bishop. He starts to have romantic feelings for her, but she doesn't have any. So then it starts to set up another potential rejection moment where he's afraid to also reveal his feelings before he gets shot down again. And to the reader, maybe we learn that Kate Bishop actually has a crush on him, but she's afraid to say anything because it's icky and weird.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But to make it work, we'll de-age Punisher a bit, because why not? Like, sure. no one knows how old like Franklin Richards is, for example.
Yeah, he's like 30, 1904.
Yeah, so like we just do that with the Punisher. We de-age him because we don't want to have to think of continuity and deal with the ramifications of these kind of ideas. So we just draw him like he's young.
Yeah, that's all it takes. Yeah, that works completely fine. And then it's less awkward. But it gets to this entire romance, which really, I mean, I think that's what everybody wants in a Punisher comic anyway, is romance.
Well, it's that and puns. It's in the title.
Ooh, yes, that's true. Yeah. Pun and her.
Yeah. So it will make a lot of jokes. It will be a lot of puns. They're going back and forth. She'll refer to him as the Punisher. Will be a hyphen.
Yes, because a lot of people are stupid and they won't get that from the title. So we'll need her to say it explicitly in the words. Yeah,
no, that'll be good. You need that hyphen, or people aren't going to get it.
Yeah. Oh, I think this would be a lot of fun, and it would be good. I mean, the thing about it is, even if people didn't buy it for some crazy reason, of course they would. It's really important for our society that it exists.
Yeah. No, that's really good. This is gold.
It's that million comic copy. I think it could happen, but I don't know. I'm sure there's still even more. that we can do with it. But the thing about the Punisher is there's no limit to what you can do with this character.
No, there's absolutely no limit. And people are sick of just a vigilante who stops bad guys.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants that anymore. I mean, it wasn't popular in the '90s when there were, I think, one or two movies about this, and it's not
Yeah.
popular now.
No, but one of the things that's going to help get a Punisher pitch over the plate is make it an event.
Yes.
So people don't like solo books. They don't like following characters. They like an onslaught of event after event with no time to breathe or understanding the ramifications of the previous event, and you just keep going.
That's how all books get launched these days.
Yeah. So here's what I'm doing with this pitch. It's Castle of M, No More Punisher.
Oh, okay. I like that. I like the use of the words because Punisher's name is Frank Castle, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that's all you got to do with these things, and people just think you're clever because you do the most obvious thing.
Yeah, well, that's what makes you smart.
Exactly. So, and this ties it into the X books because we do a bit where it's like Scarlet Witch wills the Punisher out of existence. No more Punisher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So then, Frank Castle's just standing there, and then he looks down. The logo's gone.
Oh, it's just a black shirt.
Yeah, it's just a black shirt, and then he goes through an identity crisis.
Oh, I like that too.
Yeah.
That's subverting some expectations because a lot of people have wondered if the Punisher can exist without that logo on the shirt.
No, I mean, I think this is going to prove that he can't.
That's a question that needs answered.
Yeah. Because it's just the logo. It's not that there's a vigilante going around seeking vengeance and justice through brutal murder. It's only the logo.
Right. Yeah, the logo was pretty sentient for that matter.
Yeah, no, I mean, in this event, we learn more about the logo, the origin of the logo, with the logo's real name, because we never found out what the logo's real name is.
I've always been wondering that.
Yeah, we take like a great kazoo Jiminy Cricket kind of approach to the logo.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so the logo was basically his conscience.
Yeah, so we do that, and over the course of this event, nothing really happens, but Frank Castle falls in and out of like a dream-like sort of state where he doesn't know if he's really talking to like the logo or not, and he learns a lot about himself, the alien world where the logo came from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love this because then if you wanted to in the future, you could set it up that the alien world that the logo came from could ultimately pick a new host. And that's one way you could start to do spinoffs.
Yeah. Eventually we'll get to, an event like Skull King, but it's going to take months to get there. You got to finish the first event and do the lead, road to Skull King and all that stuff. It takes a long time, but we'll get there.
You got to let things breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it because now we have two characters where we previously had one because everybody thought of it as just Frank Castle, the Punisher, the skull logo is all one thing, but now we basically got two characters we can play with and merchandise. I think that's great, and I imagine. I mean, you can do all kinds of things of fighting for the skull logo, a tournament maybe for the logo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wear it and wield it. Yeah, and then what would happen if like somebody really stupid like Frogman got the logo and what that would do to that character? And there's a lot you could do there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who would you if you were going to replace the Punisher? Was like well, not Punisher, but Frank Castle. If somebody knew as to what's your end game, what character would get it?
That's tough. Here's the thing. You want to pick a character who doesn't make any sense, but makes you as a writer seem like you understand the Marvel Universe better than you actually do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's key to your success.
Yeah. So you want to do something like Wonder Man,
Yeah, that's an interesting pick.
Yeah, because he makes absolutely no sense. I'm not entirely sure he's even alive or what he's doing anymore. But when you do something like that, it gives you a lot of clout because then people are like, oh, Wonder Man, I remember Wonder Man. Therefore, that's interesting.
Well, exactly. And as a writer, every now and then, like you could put something in there where somebody calls him Simon instead of Wonder Man, and
Yeah.
then people applaud that you're a great Marvel historian because you know that stuff.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. It makes it easier to condemn people that aren't interested in reading your work.
Right, right. I mean, they just don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely. They clearly haven't read the comics. So
Yes, absolutely. Okay, all right. This is great. I think, yeah, Wonder Man Punisher would be wonderful.
yeah, I agree.
Wonderful, maybe.
Wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful man. Yeah. No, I think the funny the thing about this is because you mentioned YA earlier. My brain's still on that a little bit because I want to make that YA money, that sweet YA money, and I'm thinking there's just so much you could do around. You could kind of retcon his origin a little bit. I mean,
Mhm.
we really haven't seen Frank Castle in high school or junior high. I mean, maybe we reveal that he was struggling with his identity a bit in high school, or maybe
Yeah.
he was bullied, or maybe he was like a teacher's pet. And you can do a lot of really clever things where you get into kind of the Punisher, or you could go back even farther and do like Little Punisher.
Yeah, and you have you just give him a bully like Jigsaw, but the whole thing is he's just like a bratty boy that likes jigsaw puzzles.
Yes, exactly. He's always like playing with jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah, it's cute. And then you can do that route, or another way to go, which I think I'm Not Starfire showed us, is you take Frank Castle as he is now, but then you introduce like a kid.
Yeah.
So for this pitch, YA middle grade, I don't really know or understand the differences. I just throw these words around as if they're interchangeable.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
they've got to
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
So this middle grade YA, whatever, for stupid kids book is Frank's Castle.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. So it's about Frank being a dad. It's we get rid of all the vigilante stuff. He doesn't really do anything except be a dad.
It's perfect because you could do so many funny things that people will find really, really funny. Like he wants his kid to mow the lawn, and the kid's like resisting a little bit. And there's kind of this threat that the Punisher might kill his own kid because
Yeah.
he's unstable. But then that's just hilarious.
Yeah, no, it is. And then here's the thing too, because we're leaning into the sitcom trope.
Yes,
What
trope's a good word.
yeah, we throw a little meta in there.
Oh, Metatrope.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
we act like this is in front of a live studio audience.
Oh, in the comic.
In the comic, yeah. So we have Frank like give you like the reader like eye contact, like he's looking at the camera.
Yes.
And we have like little sound effects of like applause every now and then.
Yeah, I miss that. I would be enjoying Future State a lot more if they told me directly what parts I should be enjoying.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like here, exactly. It works. It's meta. It's nostalgic. It's a lot of buzzwords.
Yes, as many. I mean, if we could work those into the title itself at some point, that would be brilliant.
For sure. And I mean, there's probably synergy to it. I don't understand what that really means, but sure, I'm sure there's synergy. If all these other buzzwords like meta and nostalgic are in there, I'm sure we could find, some synergy.
Yeah, I mean, I think alignment, brand reprioritization, and corporate governance. I mean, all those things could be part of this. Yeah, yeah, those are big words. They're good big words.
And it's reaching a new audience because you're doing something with the character that no one else would do.
Right. That's right. And if you do something that no one else would do, you're guaranteed to get a new audience and keep your old one.
Yeah, I mean, all the dad. If you were a dad, now, and you were like growing up picking up Punisher comics as a kid, you're going to want to give your child a copy of Frank's Castle.
Yeah, I love the name. That's just perfect because it's like his castle is his home.
Yes, that's what we're going for. I'm glad there's some people out there who are smart enough to get that.
I got it. Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah,
What do you do? Is he a single dad in this scenario, or do you give him a love interest, or what do you do?
Here's the thing. It's all built in here. We got Frank as a single dad, but the mom had passed away, so we can put like the tearjerker moments in whenever we want.
Perfect. So like every now and then when things are, you need to pull it back a little bit. You just have like Frank looking at a photo and kind of a single tear goes down his eye and he thinks, why are my emotions punishing me?
Exactly.
Then,
yeah. It was a punishment that their mom was taken from them, but they learned that well, I guess this time they learned family is who you're related to, but whatever.
Either way, you can. It all depends on what comic you're writing at the moment, but
as
long as there's a lesson in there somewhere.
I think it's important though, because you got to imagine a lot of these, people who are reading Punisher in the 90s, anywhere from like, they could have been starting at 8, 9, 10 years old. Parents didn't really care what comics people were reading. So now they're going to target these kids who were reading, these parents who were 8, 9, 10 reading Punisher. They're going to target them with a really, really not at all like that comic about like growing up without a mom.
Yeah.
For
sure. It's a little bit, I mean, it fits with Disney because Disney always has the movies where the mom's dead.
Yeah.
And so that fits. It feels like it's part of their portfolio. I mean, I can see them making an animated movie of it, as long as they kill off the mom. That's really the gate to getting a Disney movie.
Yeah, it sounds very on brand.
Yeah, on brand. Exactly. Corporate synergy.
Yes, absolutely.
I think, I love the idea. I mean, I love the idea of kind of exploring how the Punisher could be a franchise. Like, I was a big fan of Batman Inc. And I always thought what I wanted out of that comic was a bunch of other Batman. Like it kind of promised me that there was going to be maybe hundreds of Batman running around, maybe with different flags on the utility belt to kind of brand them in some way. And I never really got that. I'm not even sure. I never actually read that comic, but I was a big fan of it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like Punisher Inc., where the Punisher realizes that he's got a kind of a merchandise location in Hot Topic, and he basically franchises the Punisher to try and get other people to kind of be on his crusade. And he learns through this process that it's less about punishing people and more about building his brand.
No, absolutely. And then as part of synergy, again, I'm not really sure if this makes sense or works for synergy, but Punisher also, in order to fund the franchising out the Punisher IP, he starts a YA imprint of his own.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's called, because that's where all the money is.
That's very meta.
Yeah, it is. It's so meta. And he calls it Punisher Inc., but it's with a K.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Nice. Everyone doing like a YA imprint or something does like graphics with an X or ink or something stupid like that. So we're going to do that.
Well, you can't. I mean, if you're going to be successful there, you have to prove that you're too good for good spelling.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, who spells things right? Nerds?
Nerds. Yeah, absolutely nerds. I mean,
continuity nerds that probably still think that like Boba Fett's a cool character,
dorks.
Right?
I think that if you could do a series where like it becomes almost in every issue, Frank is going and he's looking at his franchise and he's looking at how people are doing things. And what we find is that in different cities and different locations, people are taking on the Punisher mantle and doing different things with it. Like instead of just killing criminals and murdering people like a psychopath. Maybe this one guy in Boston is a cab driver, and he punishes people by taking them to the wrong place. He's like a bad Uber driver. And you just go from spot to spot, and there you get some comedy because you get to explore and deconstruct the whole Punisher narrative and what it means to be the Punisher, but you do it in a funny way. Like, all these things are kind of stupid. Like, this one guy makes bad food. This other person, like, he's the Punisher bartender, and he just serves really watered down drinks. Or another guy is like the Punisher weed dealer, but it's not good stuff. It's like a lot of just twigs and nonsense.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And then I guess we're back to, it's not the family you're related to, it's the family you make. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're back on that.
Yes.
And then the way that's set up, the spreadsheets give us a lot of places to put like a lot of prose and text sort of pages to break up the comedy.
Yeah, I mean, you need some data sheets in there. So you need to, and you can do things like, Punisher's franchise journal, where he's talking about his observations and maybe the money he makes, and you're able to provide some additional narrative and backstory and other things about these characters that we'll never see again, but we want to fully flesh out.
Yeah, but then you want to throw a bone to some of the old readers. So what you might do is one of the issues. Maybe one of the franchisees is like Bullseye or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that could be a big shock. Like, he goes to visit and it's Bullseye, and Bullseye is doing this, and he's like, he's conflicted. He's like, oh, on one hand, I took the money, I took the franchise fee, so I can't say no now. And my code says I shouldn't kill, because that is the Punisher's code, is that he won't kill. So it really puts him in a dilemma.
Yeah. No, that's really important stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. What other, you've got the ability, completely thinking outside the box. Your ideas are all complete chef's kiss, by the way.
Thank you so much. It's, God, what other stupid things do people say other than chef? It's the goat, right?
It's the goat.
It's the goat.
It's definitely the goat. You have adulted the shit out of this.
I appreciate that. This. I'm pointing to it when I'm saying this.
Yes, exactly. There's a GIF going up right now. But what if it's you have one last story to tell? What is that story?
Oh, geez, just one more Punisher story.
Yeah, they're gonna for some crazy reason. I have no idea why anyone would do this or why you'd even consider it. Like, you decide the Punisher isn't a character you want to do much with in the future. But if you had it's like, so this is gonna be your last story, what would you do?
I mean, I guess if it's the last story, you just make him gay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Mic drop.
Yeah, that's it. That's the whole pitch.
Yeah. What you don't need more pitch than that.
No.
Yeah. All right. Excellent.
Yes.
Hey, in all seriousness, this was fun, by the way.
Thank you.
It is. We were talking a bit before we started recording about why is it that the Punisher, who obviously is in the news for a reason right now, and people are talking about that a lot. There's a lot of calls to discontinue the character, and it's a problematic character. But at the same time, you've got all these characters that they have no trouble rehabilitating, putting things out. I mean, we just got a bunch of comics with Apocalypse.
Yeah, who a genocidal maniac who is all about survival of the fittest and eugenics, and same thing with like Mr. Sinister and all these other characters who are all like good guys now. And Apocalypse is now a family man with a wife and children.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, and Mr. Sinister, it's like we're making some jokes about his cape, but like he's doing full blown cape manipulation. I don't know. We've well established that Sabretooth is a mass murderer, a homicidal maniac, and he was part of the X-Men for a while. You mentioned Sandman earlier. Like, what is it really about? Is it simply that some people have also worn a Skull t-shirt and therefore this character is the worst?
Yeah, I mean, you have that, and I mean, like, hell, while all this is going on, you have Joker War going on while DC's releasing, like Gotham High,
Yeah,
where like Joker's a class clown.
yeah. He's like a wacky Jack Napier Joker. I don't get it. I don't get why you have. I mean, there's been real world events where people have dressed up in a clown mask and other things. You've had you're doing a comic where people are riding all over and causing problems and invading government buildings and everything else. And but no problem. We'll get our Joker solo series up and going, and off we go.
Yeah, there were no real calls to end V for Vendetta with all the Guy Fawkes masks with like QAnon and
Yeah,
a lot of other similar issues of leaking sensitive information that could potentially cost lives.
yeah. It all seems very strange to me, and I mean, I don't know. I've read some good Punisher stories. I've read a lot of bad Punisher stories. There's
Yes.
plenty of both. I don't feel like there's really a need that this character has to be kept going forever. But what it seems very strange that there's this call for that character to end when all this other stuff's running around, and in some cases, like I mean, yeah, like you said, they're doing a full 24-part series. It's going to end with Apocalypse having his family.
Yeah, it's after a lot of murder.
After a lot of murder. Yeah, and maybe a hint of murder to come. It's like
Yeah, no, it's almost everyone in the X-Men at this point has been a villain that murdered people.
yeah, and a lot of them, a lot of people. I mean, they've recently made jokes about Wolverine taking out cities of people.
Yeah, Magneto obviously killed
Yeah,
a lot of people. Even if you remove all the stuff with Zorn in Manhattan in New X-Men, he still killed a lot of people.
yeah. I mean, it feels like if the issue truly is a couple, crazy people have decided to, brand themselves the Punisher. I mean, I I don't know. It feels like a very weird reaction to that, where you could stop licensing that product if you wanted to. You could just not make those T-shirts. You could just say those people are crazy and let it go.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hate to hurt the people who could potentially be making those royalties and still be um,
Sure.
around like like Jerry Conway
Yeah.
and other people like that. And other like Garth Ennis and a lot of other people that rely on. I rely is a strong word, but get
Oh,
money in
or get a lot of money from
royalties.
royalties. Yeah.
Yeah, and what does it do to help? It's not like if you stopped publishing or making Punisher comics that suddenly people who are inclined to commit violence are going to be like, well, I guess I can't commit violence anymore.
No, I don't have a good logo to brand myself with, and the only thing they're selling at Hot Topic are some Harley Quinn shirts, and I'm going to look like a loser storming the Capitol in one of those. So I guess I'll just stay home.
Yeah, but really, it's don't commit violence.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Where like the paraphernalia you're wearing while committing. It's no. It's
Not really a big deal there.
don't commit violence. Just don't do it.
Yeah, the T-shirt is the least of the problem. I think
Yes.
scenario, like yeah, it definitely feels like some misplaced judgments there. I don't know. It's been a crazy couple weeks, Joe. I want to really thank you for at least seeing somewhat the light-hearted view of this, even though it's very grim, weird times.
No, no. Of course, it's grim. It's sad. People have lost their lives, and there's nothing funny about that fact.
Absolutely not. No.
There's nothing entertaining about that, or any damage that's been done to our capital. Obviously, that's not there. There's nothing to joke about that, and people who felt threatened and are continuing to feel threatened. Uh,
Absolutely.
we're gonna get through this no matter what. We have a country have gone through worse,
Yep.
and come out on the other side. We will in the future go through worse and come out of it. It's just time. That's just what happens over time.
We are resilient as a people, and the world tends to be resilient. It's a lot more resilient than people give it credit for,
Yeah.
and I think if we keep focusing on solving the problems, life gets better. And solving some of those problems maybe isn't going after a t-shirt.
Yeah, and I understand that a lot of people who are doing that are coming from a good place. There are people who are just riding the trend and trying to one up each other, of course,
Oh,
but
sure.
there are also plenty of people who are coming from a good place and want to do the right thing. Um,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
Um,
nothing at all. I appreciate people trying to help. I think we need solutions. We need ideas, and maybe one of those ideas is you make Jane Foster Punisher.
yeah, Jane Foster, Punisher,
Yeah,
Moondragon. What are people doing with Moondragon?
that's true. There's a character just ready to. Nothing's happening with Moondragon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
I think you could have the one of the Punisher's guns turns out to be magical. We're slipping right back into it again. Anyway,
Yeah.
Joe, thank you very much, and thanks everybody for listening. And take care of yourselves out there.
Yes, everyone, please stay safe and take care of yourselves.